triphasic, I put it into blocks. And as Dr. Bondarchuk points out, he stated the importance of block periodization, but included in each block must be an undulation of load. The undulation of load that I showed you on the first screen. So the 80, 85, 92%. We're convinced that the loads of different intensities should be used in the workouts of highly qualified athletes in each session during the preparatory and competitive phase. Next slide, please. So here's how I do the triphasic undulating block method. Okay? Weeks 1 and 2, simple, eccentric. So let me use this. Well, I'll just cover this. Eccentric, 2 weeks. Isometric, weeks 3 and 4. Weeks 5 and 6, more focus on concentric. Now, let me give you an example of this. Go down. Go down 2. One more, and then I'll come back. Eccentric squat. I use a 4 numbering system. So this is for clusters. So if there's a number here, if this is 10, the athlete will take a break for 10 seconds and go again. Eccentric down 6 seconds. First week, 1 and 2. Isometric for 3. Now a lot of people say, well, why 3? All I'm trying to do, and I actually go up to 5 sometimes, but all you're trying to do with that is create that isometric strength, and you have to go 3 seconds to take the potential from the stretch reflex out of it. All right? There's potential energy there, and that's why you pause. Now, there may be some power lifters. I still like that would use box squats. I still like the isometric because I have to work on that strength. And then what I've had, actually, week 3, the power lifters, especially an advanced one, will do the isometric squat, hold at the bottom, pause, and then they'll work some starting strength with that aspect. In week 4, they actually throw in the box squats, and then even maybe follow it throughout the rest of the thing, or the training cycle. But anyway, this is kind of the concentrated loading. Let's go back up 1. Now, the reason for this, again, this eccentric, let's say we're using the squat again. The value of the eccentrics is, guess what you see? About week 4, when I do this, when the athlete comes down and do his pause squat, they'll stop instantly. Okay? You can see the value. Now, this takes a little while to kick in because this is so taxing. And the reason this is taxing, this is very hard on the nervous system, much, much harder. So that's why, it works out. But ultimately, if you adjusted these, the reason you don't ever put this, not in this order, is because the eccentric takes longer to recover from. So when I do it with my track team to peak for a meet, 8 weeks later or 9, they recover from the eccentrics in less time. They'll recover from the isometrics, and then the concentric they can recover almost 2 or 3 days. This takes a long time. The more experience of the athlete, the longer this takes to recover from, folks. I had an athlete that I actually tried to do it for a week, and he was very sympathetic dominant. It didn't work for him. It was too much on his nervous system. He only actually had to do it once every 6 or 8 months. The eccentric component. Because then when he did his squat, and I'll talk about that. Let's say you do your squat. So my biggest example is this. When a coach walked in, he saw me doing week 1, slow count down. He's like, wow, you're doing a great technique. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Whatever it may be. It looks 6 count down, fine. And then they explode up. Every one of these phases, you have to explode up. Everything I do concentrically has to explode up. Why? Because as I play the piano, I can't play, but if somebody plays the piano, okay, or if I'm hitting a fastball, that's in one area of the brain. The second you do an eccentric component, control down, there's a lot of biofeedback, you move training from the same area of the brain sports is played in to another area of the brain. So always come down slow and controlled, up as fast as you can, like your life depends on it. Same thing, isometric, bring it down, pause it. There's a lot of feedback, and this was wrote about by William Calvin, a Harvard or a scientist from Stanford, neuroscientist. So this is actually what happens. Then your isometric phase. So anyway, getting back to the coach, eccentric phase 1, he walked in. He walks in this week. Now he'll see one of my athletes doing maybe the day he walked in. It depends on the day. Maybe like 400 pounds, eccentrically. Okay. Now, you can say I can use a heavy load, I can use weight releasers. We'll talk about that later. One of my favorite ones, because I have 20 athletes standing around. He was using 400, bringing 400 down for a 6 count, and my spotters actually helped pull them up. Just one guy behind him, okay? And we'll do that for a double and do some other things, or a triple, whatever it may be, okay? So he saw week 1 down, slow, and controlled. He walks back in week 6, and this athlete's taking that 400 pounds, essentially free falling, dropping. And when the weights stop, they sound like they hit the floor. That's how fast he stopped it. And then he would shoot it up 1.3 meters per second. Okay? Which means the weight's coming off probably his back. Okay? He's coming off the ground. But folks, I'm applying a heck of a lot of force. Now, if he tried that same concept week 6, that athlete would never be able to handle the load. He couldn't stop it. Okay? Couldn't stop it. So, whether you're at high loads or at low loads, you may see an athlete come down at 90. You get to your max effort, and something's going to fail. If an athlete can change the direction and fails coming up, concentric strength's the issue. If they come down, can't change direction, and they never get it to go up, these two are the issue. For that particular load. Lightweights, same thing. If they're not transferring the weight, and we're talking about sports, but you can even apply it to some powerlifting. Give me the next slide, please. There's a squat, next frame, please. Single leg squat. Here's how, if you don't want to load the back, and understand, there's times where I squat my athletes 3 days a week. Okay? Then you have to manage the back. I learned from the Chinese strength coaches a number of things. Inversion works, massage devices along the spine. Basically, you're just causing the spine to relax. And then Doc Gessis actually, he had it in one of his books, the gluteum hyper. It's in one of his first books. You just lay on the gluteum hyper and lay over the edge, and you actually lengthen your spine that way if you don't want to have inversion tables in your weight room. After you squat, every squat workout in the summer, we do that. And then one of the things I was reading in a Buddhist monk book that I don't know why I was reading it, to be honest with you. They didn't reach the highest level of relaxation until they learned to relax their tongue. So then what I did is I put my athletes on there. I'd sit there, we'd massage them with the thing down their spine just to get the fluid back in, told them to relax their tongue, and then we saw them drop. One athlete dropped like 2 inches. You have to take the tension out of the nervous system, especially a high-end nervous system guy, sympathetic dominant guy, okay?